Thanks for showing up, guys. Appreciate it. Big game coming up this week out in Wisconsin. Before we get to that, I want to have a shout out to my guy Pop. What a great game he played last night. Really cool for him. Isaiah Pacheco coming home to the great state of New Jersey and really showing out and being a big part of their win. I was really proud of him, and I know everyone in our program is excited and happy for him. So with that, I'll open up for questions about Wisconsin.
Greg, when you look at what Wisconsin's offense is doing under Phil Longo this season, I guess kind of what stands out to you on film and how productive they've been?
Yeah, they do a great job. Phil does a great job. Their offense is hard to stop, multidimensional. People kind of get, when they hear about tempo and they hear about air raid, they think it's just throw it all over the lot. They do a great job running the football. They have several different schemes that they run the football with, so it's going to be a huge challenge for all those reasons. And the biggest reason is good players.
Greg, Gavin only has one interception and 106 throws across 5 games. You've touched on how that being a big improvement, him not turning the ball over. How much of that is him and his personal growth and development, and how much of that is Kirk Ciarrocca working with him and the play calls he gives him in the games?
Well, I think that's all one and the same. I mean, other than the play calls, what Kirk does as a coach and what Gavin does as a player, that's how they mesh together, and that's why it works so well right now. It's a continual effort. You're as good as your last outing. So we just got to keep working at it, and he'll keep getting better. And, Kirk calls the game, and he calls it the way he sees fit.
Coming in to this season, I know Rutgers wanted to be very balanced offensively. Do you feel like you guys have been effective in creating that balance?
Yeah, I don't know if balance is always the key. It's whatever it takes to win the game. So if they're giving you the throws, then we'll throw for a lot of yards and, devalue the running game. But if you can run it, then you want to run it, right? And I always think it has a lot to do. You have a game plan, but then you have to go with what the opponent is giving you. So I think it's nice when it turns out like that, but you can't really predict it because they have a big say in it.
Coach, just to build off of what you said on Wisconsin's offense, on the defensive side of the ball, what sort of stands out to you about what the Badgers do in that respect?
Well, I should build on the offense more because I didn't talk about the players. I just said the players. I mean, you look at Moradici, I think I said that right. He's a really fine player. He can throw it. He can run. Does a great job reading. Their back, Allen, is special. He's big, 6'2", 245. I mean, he is a load. And it's not one of those guys that can't move and doesn't have the ability to cut. He's special. They got a big veteran O-line, which helps a lot. Their tight ends are good players. They utilize the tight ends. Rucci is one of them. I actually coached his dad at Penn State, so athletic family there. And then the receivers, there's 5 or 6 guys. They roll them in there, and they're all dangerous. They can all hurt you. So Coach Longo does a great job, and he's got a lot of good weapons there to utilize. Defensively, I think their front 7 is really strong. They play with great technique. They play with great effort. Their hands, very heavy-handed front. Their linebackers, they have actually 3 or 4 of them that are really fine players. We've seen some of them in the past, but good players. Really, front 7 is going to be tough, very tough physically, and they're really good at hitting their fits. And in the secondary, they go after the football. They're very aggressive. So, and then in special teams, they're really good. They have good personnel, big personnel that can run, and they utilize them on their team. So it's going to be a challenge in every area. And I know Coach Fickle well. He's an excellent coach. We worked together for a year. One of the best coaches I've been around, literally from a X&O standpoint, from a motivation standpoint, just everything. And a great man, great family. He really does an awesome job. He did it at Cincinnati. He'll do it there. Really, like I said, one of the best I've been around.
Coach, assessing the first 5 games of the season, what's something you think Rutgers can improve on as a whole during the next 7 games and obviously, the all-out Big Ten schedule?
Yeah, I'm just focused on one game, and that's Wisconsin. And we have a lot of things to get better at for the Wisconsin game. So you name it, we have to get better at it. but we got to get, up front on offense and defense. We got to be more precise, continue to play with effort in the secondary, in the skilled areas. Just tighten it up a little bit, tighten the coverage up a little bit, tighten the techniques up a little bit. The receiving core, some of the routes, some of the depth, some of the techniques we're using, we have to tighten it up. So there's a lot to get better at right now. But the good thing is we get to practice this week, and to me, practice is everything.
Greg, this offseason, the NCAA implemented a new rule for first downs where the clock keeps running. A lot of coaches have been complaining about it on TV and social media, but I wanted to hear your overall thoughts.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Whatever they make the rules, we play it. You could see that it's shortening the game a little bit, and I understand why. I mean, you can't talk out of both ends of your mouth. We all want all this money to come in, right? Well, TV's what provides that money, and they like to have those games in a nice, neat little time frame. And hey, it's pretty good.
You guys are playing a road game against one of the iconic brands in the Big Ten, maybe still the favorite to win the Big Ten West. Do you view this as an opportunity, as maybe for a signature win, a kind of win that fans can really hang their hat on and say, Rutgers got a big win at Wisconsin?
It's a big game. I very, very, very careful looking at that and saying, this would be an iconic brand, or this is a big win, or whatever you want to call it. We have one goal. It's to be 1-0 at the end of this Wisconsin season. And it's hard. We got a lot of work to do. We're in the middle of it right now, putting it together. But we as a staff, and then as a whole organization, as a team, we have a lot of work to do between now and Saturday. And they're very good. So we're going to do everything we can to go out there and like I said, be 1-0 when we leave that stadium. But they're good. They're really good.
I just want to go back to something you were saying the other day about how this team is learning to do things that winning teams do that maybe a lot of people don't see. I mean, when did you and it might be tough to pinpoint, but when did you kind of start to see the progression that this team is getting to that point and starting to understand what it takes to win on a consistent level?
Yeah, winning, what does that mean? It means that leaders take care of things that happen. Guys late to something. It's not acceptable anymore. As a matter of fact, it really stands out if you're late, if you don't do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. When the leadership takes that over and they handle that's when things start to go differently. And because, it's the same old deal, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. And if you can't be on time for something, then how do we know you're going to stay in the B gap? And it's trust. Doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it is hard, really hard.
I know after the game you talked a little bit about Johnny Shepard, although you talked about him. What did you see from him in high school? Because he wasn't a highly recruited guy. He was local in your backyard. But what did you see from him, and what did you think of his performance on Saturday with the few snaps he got?
In high school, I saw a great competitor that was a winner. He's really changed his body. And if you saw him in high school, he looked more like a middle linebacker than he did a quarterback. But he played quarterback like a middle linebacker, which is something I loved. But you talk about reshaping his body. He has a great feel for the game. He's a football player, very instinctual. So we're thrilled to get the chance to keep developing him.
Coach, you talked about Gavin's development as a quarterback, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on do you feel like you're seeing him get a much better rhythm and chemistry, whatever word you want to use, with his receivers as the season has gone on?
Well, I think, with Jaquay being out for part of camp, for most of camp, they're just kind of hitting their stride together. I think Isaiah and Christian have been practicing the whole time, so I think they have a groove going. But, you can't throw enough to your receivers, and you can't throw enough routes to get, you can only get more comfortable with the timing and rhythm. And time, practice, those guys stay out after and throw on their own. If you have a burning desire to do it, you'll get better, and those guys do.
We didn't ask you about him after the game. Renee Congo looked like he limped off in the fourth quarter. Just do you have anything on how he's doing?
Yeah, he'll probably be okay, but that'll all go to the availability report. We'll just kind of stick with that so we don't get too variable.
You touched on Bo Masco having an NCAA deal. Is there anything else you can share detail-wise on that? And
Yeah, with the NCAA, I really try to, believe me, I'd love to say a lot, but I really try to keep my mouth shut because it can only hurt them, and I don't want to do that. My own personal frustrations, I have to have some self-control and not let that out. But yeah, hopefully that, I would love for those to get resolved, both of them. But that's not been kind of the flow or the vibe this year. Those things haven't been worked out very much. One of the good things that I'd like to talk about, when it comes to off the field stuff, is Mayan Ahanatu. Mayan is named a semifinalist for the Campbell Trophy, which is really probably the ultimate award in college football, right? It's a high-level football player who's an excellent student. So what an honor that is for him. And I've known him since he was a teenager, hanging out in my house with my sons and coaching them when I was coaching high school football down in Tampa. So couldn't be more thrilled. A guy who's came here, transferred in, and has just become the ultimate leader of our team. He's become a really, really solid young man, and this is a warranted chance that he's getting here as a semifinalist, and it's a great award. So we're thrilled for that, and we're getting into it now. Tests, kids all have the tests this week, and they've been in school now for over a month. So this is where the student-athlete part really gets highlighted. And what does that mean? That means guys are up late writing papers and getting ready for tests and that kind of stuff. So it's a challenge right now. So we're looking forward to getting on that plane and going out to Wisconsin. And like I said, the goal is to be 1-0 when we get back on the plane. But we got to go do it. Thanks, guys.